Okay, now based on, this is the specific assessment of Fallskate, which just went by last weekend, based on the 4 assessment criteria I just made in my previous video. Preparation, I generally overall I would say the competition was a very high success. I thought it was very, very good, and I'm going to go over these things separately and see if that weighs up properly. Preparation, I had 4 out of 5 of my skaters had flawless preparation. No hiccups, no bumps, no problems, no extra stress other than what's already inherent to the competition. The only exception was Becky at the end of the day, where there are a couple things went wrong with her preparation. I don't believe, again, as I said in my previous video, I don't believe that affected her overall performance in any way. And in fact, some preparation bumps can actually help people's performance. I know it helps me because I become more active and more engaged the more things are going wrong, the more I try to focus on what I have to do to get things back on track. I don't know if anybody, some people aren't like that, some people fall apart, but generally with me as a coach, they're not going to fall apart because of a few preparation problems, because it happens fairly regularly, and I deal with it very very neutrally, very even-handedly, very even-tempered. So 4 to 5, I consider that very good. Execution, I consider all 5 of my skaters to have done very well on execution. I'm going to go over this in my typical assessment to competitions, but I generally don't think anyone, unlike some previous competitions I had last year, no one skated below average. Everyone skated at least average, if not better than, or much better than average. So execution, and I had certain, well, I'll get to that later, but I had certain expectations on execution from each skater, and I believe everyone met or exceeded my execution expectations. Third is results. So I was 5 out of 5 on execution. 9 out of 10 overall so far. Results, I had a couple events that were were disturbing results. 2 in particular. The most normal result, the most unexpectedly expected result was Becky. I went over her solo with herself and her mother after she skated and told her where she was going to get certain deductions and what I thought might not count and where I thought she would get some invalid elements, etc., etc. And her report card came out, and the report card matched up almost exactly from top to bottom with what I had said, which is, it's nice that happens occasionally, so some kind of affirmation that I know what I'm talking about. It certainly doesn't happen every time. But that was really nice because she had a lot of weird notations. She had 2 under-rotated jumps, 1 downgraded jump, both of which I called in advance. She had 1 spin that was invalid, which I called in advance. I said it was in the iffy range, but I really thought it wasn't going to count, and it didn't. Everything else counted, which was great, and her overall score was decent, and just everything about her results was fine. It was right in the range of acceptable, even better than acceptable based on the circumstances going into the competition. The other one that I wasn't particularly disturbed or surprised on was Jessica. There was really nothing in there that was too surprising. I wasn't really disturbed with Sora's results, but after she skated so well, I kind of expected better results, but she basically got the results that I'd been getting in practice for 2 or 3 weeks. And I think the judging was a little harsh, as it tends to be in fall school, for standard events. The 2 that were kind of, well, no, only 1 was really unexpected, and that was Caitlin's. Caitlin, I think, had many elements that were marked lower than I thought they should possibly have ever been marked. I asked for some clarification from the judging, from the technical director on that, and she said she would discuss it with people. I don't think she's going to get back to me, though, but I made her aware of my concerns. So, and there usually are corrections made by the time we get to Rob McCall, so I'm really not even too disturbed about that. And there was Nina, who got again, she was in the score range I was kind of expecting the first competition. Her execution was very good, not flawless, but as good as I would have expected. In some cases, better than I would have expected. But there were some results, some invalid elements that we weren't expecting. So for results, I would say I was 3 out of 5 were okay. 3 out of 5 were not disappointing, I guess is the word, which is not a great score, but again, we're not focused on results. We're focused on execution, especially in the first competition of the year. And last is goal setting. I constantly set goals with skaters in practice all the time. I don't always tell the parents what the goals are, although I give you a vague idea about scores and stuff when I email you. But the kids usually have 3 or 4 goals they have, and they generally get a gist of what's going on and how to set goals for themselves. So I think I had fairly specific goals stated with the skater for Caitlin, I definitely had some goals. For Jessica, she had some goals, I had some goals. For Nina, we had some goals. And for Becky, I had some goals. Yeah. And I think we essentially achieved, I'm going to say, 95% of my goals among my students. Sora achieved everything we expected of her. Caitlin achieved everything we expected. Jessica achieved everything we expected. Nina, I was kind of hoping for a clean skate, but it was a 50-50 chance whether that was going to happen. So that was a 50-50 goal that we didn't get. And then Becky, it's hard to say what exactly my goals were. I wanted to see what the main thing is I wanted to see what her loop double loop would score like in competition. And I wanted her to do one of her better attempts at a loop double loop so I could really see what that would look like scoring. She did not do that. She did a worse than average loop double loop, but we did achieve what I wanted, which is what would the scoring be if in the worst case scenario. Probably even better to get that scenario. And the results were that her loop double loop is worth more points than her single loop would be. So worth doing, even under the worst possible conditions, worst possible results. That's, again, very helpful for the next 2 competitions. So I'm going to say goal setting was pretty good as well. We were basically 5 for 5 in goal setting. We didn't totally fail to meet any goals. There's no skater that failed more than 50% of their goals. So overall, what was my score there? Like 17 out of 20? So I consider that, by that assessment criteria, a very good competition.